Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle of the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's First Law series. I am one of your hosts, Lord Chamberlain Jeffrey, and here are my co-hosts,
Archlector George,
and Harrison, the Adeptus Historical.
For this episode, we will be interviewing Stephanie, the Serpent of Talins, on this episode. So, let's get started. So, Stephanie, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi. So I'm Stephanie, obviously. Thank you guys for having me. I've been a big fan of the First Law world since I started diving into it about 6 months ago. As you know, I'm only halfway through right now. I've read up through the end of Best Served Cold, currently reading the Heroes. But, you know, so many interesting things going on in the series that I'm really excited to talk about.
Awesome. So essentially, in terms of the overall series, you're a first-time reader, right?
Yeah, I am.
Well, this is great. We've been wanting to get a perspective like that.
That's good, because I'll definitely sound like a first-time reader, I'm sure. Everyone has so many random bits of knowledge. I'm just like, where did you even find that out? I'm still wrapping my head around it all.
The Agriant is this size.
Here's how many tennis balls you can fit inside the Agriant.
You know, Harrison took the time to actually measure the Agriant.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
How big is it?
It's about the same size as Venice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Just the Agriant.
Because the circumference is 10 miles around.
I didn't realize Venice was that small.
Yeah, it's pretty small.
Oh, wow. There you go.
You fucking nerd, Harrison.
Hey! We wouldn't be doing this podcast if we weren't all nerds, okay?
How many times do we have to talk about it, man? Come on.
I'm basically moonlighting as a nerd. All my friends Jeff, you what? Fantasy books? Podcast? I'm like, son of a bitch, they know now.
It's honestly same.
Right? Oh, really? That's
yeah,
great.
it's tough. A lot of my friends, they're not into this stuff, so I don't get to talk about it with them. And then whenever I bust it out, they're like, wait, what? I thought I knew you.
Are we about to open Pandora's box? We're going to ask you a question, and you're going to have the biggest answer we've ever heard.
We'll see. We'll find out. There's definitely some series that I really do nerd out on, on another level. This will be one of them once I get through it, I'm sure.
Oh, no, you will. You will.
Yeah.
For sure. So I guess, do we want to start off? First of all, George, do you have the meme of the week?
Yeah, ready.
Oh, okay, go ahead. So we're going to be doing best meme of the week. We'll start off with that real quick.
Okay, we're actually going to get his name right this time.
We are going to get his name
kind
correct.
of offended Mr.
I
Churlish
feel
Grambungle.
absolutely bullied this episode, and we just started.
Well,
you got his name wrong.
You're the Adeptus. You're not supposed to get things wrong. No crying on air.
Yeah.
How many times do I have to tell you, Harrison?
Well, this episode's getting dark already. Right.
Let's just move on, okay?
Okay, so yeah, the meme is from Churlish Grambungle on Reddit. I think this is the third one that he's done for us. So at the moment, this is about 5 or 6 people doing all the memes. So we need some more people. So anybody on there out there listening, if you've never been to House of the Meme Maker and you've never made a meme, then this is our call to action. Just get on there and start making new shit. Even if it's crap, we don't care. We want to see it.
Yeah. Well, remember, my friend Julio, he made a meme about me, but so I'm trying to rope people in, so slowly but surely.
That's a good one, so thanks, Julio.
Yeah, thanks, Julio.
Julio also did our music, didn't he?
Yeah, he's the one that he does our music. He's going to have some other stuff for us down the pipeline because he's a very charitable man.
Yeah. Well, that's good. It's good that we got so much support here. So, yeah. Thanks, Churlish Grambungle, for your fantastic Star Wars meme. And that will always say about Star Wars, because last episode we got talking about
plenty
it
of
for half
Star
an hour.
Wars,
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So let's start off, I guess, asking Stephanie. All right. Is Pharaoh too much of a stereotypical badass female character?
Oh, man. I feel like Pharaoh's not a stereotype, but she's definitely a type. I don't think I can think of anyone I've read who's quite like Pharaoh. Pharaoh, when you think of the stereotypical female badass character. I actually lean more towards someone like Monza. Pharaoh's like she's like an animal in a cage, who's just been let out. Like, there's the poor little like pit bulls that escape from the fighting rings and they just don't know what to do. Like
I'm gonna
that's
go with Pitbull.
I love pit bulls though. I love them so much. So it makes me sad, and that's kind of how I see Pharaoh. She's been through so much and she's like very reactive. I don't think of her as really even as like a badass. I feel like she's more, I'm like sad for her,
Right, because obviously it's all like from trauma.
Yeah, it's all from trauma, and she's just blinded by that. She's reacting to that, and her entire life, the rest of her life, is going to be defined by that trauma. But there are, I think, a lot of different ways that people process trauma, and I still don't know, obviously, what happened to her. I have the whole rest of the series to read, but something really, really big would have to happen to shake her from that.
Mm-hmm.
She's very stuck in that right now, if that makes sense.
No, it does. I can actually really identify with Pharaoh in some way about like trauma responses, I guess you could say, and very confrontational. That's to say the very least. I mean, I don't have a knife and a bow and arrow just laying around. Well, actually, I do have a bow, but that's not the point. But it's when I was reading people, I guess on forums back a couple years ago, I got the consensus that people thought that Pharaoh was very one note, and I didn't get that. But that's why I think this question was something we wanted to ask from your perspective as a woman, what you thought.
Well, to be fair, I do think that she's one note. And I don't want to make it sound like she's, I do. I don't think that she's a stereotype, but I do think that, like, the weird thing about Pharaoh for me as I was reading is I'm so interested in everything that's happening around her. I'm interested in her backstory. I'm interested in the people she's with, the seed and the story, and everything that's happening around her. But I'm not interested in her, and I don't enjoy reading chapters from her perspective. And that's kind of like a weird feeling, is just being like invested in this character, but not actually enjoying spending time with them. Because there is just sort of this flatness. Like when Logan and Pharaoh are traveling, I think it's in Adua, in Last Argument of Kings. And at one point, Logan kind of gives her the freedom. He's like, don't run away. And I was like, Logan, like, don't let her go. She's going to run away. we know. Of course she is. That's what she does. She has this sort of like trigger response. You know exactly what she's going to do. And that feels a little bit one note, because people who are recovering from trauma or responding to trauma and dealing with the fallout from that, it's so nuanced. And there are other characters in the series who are also dealing with the fallout of trauma that are written in a much more complex way. And so I'm still waiting to see if and how Pharaoh is developed in a way that makes her feel more real and not just like that sort of wild animal vibe, who just reacts to her basic needs: food, water, shelter, sex, and death, right? That's kind of it for her.
Do you I said it on the podcast before here, but Pharaoh seems to lack the ability to thoughtfully self-reflect, and it seems to be why she has a hard time getting over her trauma. Where I do agree that she is kind of one note. I almost feel that, yes, she may not be as written as well as like Monza or something, but she is, I think, purposely written to be somebody who does not know how to handle the trauma that she's been given and self-reflect and improve herself. She's kind of just stuck reacting in a terrible cycle.
I agree with that. And if that was the intent, then it was done well. It's clearly not a case where Joe can't write these characters. Clearly he can. He has, and this is really what he's very good at doing. So I'm sure there's a reason for it that I'll find out as I keep reading, but I would definitely agree with that take.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's an interesting segue into the next question, which is sort of, having not read up to like Age of Bandits, where do you think Pharaoh's story goes after at the end of the trilogy?
I have absolutely no idea. I'm not a predictive reader. I don't like predicting what's going to happen while I read, because I want to experience the information, the way the author has presented it in the moment. And so it's something I haven't really thought about a lot, is how these various character stories end. And because of that, I rarely figure out twists, which I like, except for Bayaz. I did pick up on that. And when I figured it out, I like shit my pants. I think like everybody did. That was a big one. But I try not to figure out what's going to happen in the future when all that when the books have been published. I can have that information whenever I want it. I think though, if I had to kind of speculate, it's going to be, I hope it's good, but I know it's not. It's Joe. It's going to be, I mean, we've got like, you know, this interesting stuff with her bloodline that's probably going to come into play. I hope she finds that sense of self and isn't just used as a pawn in the end. That's what I hope. I don't know what I think is going to happen, but that's what I hope happens. I hope she finds happiness, right? Really
that brings up an interesting question. Right. That is kind of on the spot here, boys. So sorry, but at the end of Pharaoh's story, do you feel like she is free of control, like she says she is, or do you think she is under the influence of those the voices side? Yeah,
I think she will be under the influence. I hope I'm wrong, but unless all of this is resolved, I mean, the series is done. I don't know. Like, I'm just gonna keep wavering back and forth. Like, it could be this, it could be that.
I mean, I like the lack of expectations. That's healthy in this series.
I think I need to set those expectations, or I know I'll be disappointed. I've learned through these 4 books that if I tell myself there's going to be a happy ending, I will be let down. So I do. That's his thing, right? So I do think there's going to be, you know, she probably won't fully escape. She will be controlled to a point, but I do hope it doesn't happen. I don't know is the short answer. I have absolutely no idea.
Oh, that's good. That's very interesting.
It's going to be cool to see how she responds. Well, I can't say anything yet. Well,
next time we'll circle back and we'll be like, so how wrong were you?
You'll see. Wink, wink. We'll see.
Or maybe she ends up as like the queen of Adua. Who knows? Like, it could be anything.
Ooh. Pharaoh as queen. I can never see her. Oh man, she's just too much of a
wild card.
Yeah, like too much of a wild card. She she holds such disdain for hierarchy and royalty and things that really don't mean anything to,
It'd be a huge shift.
Yeah, she'd be like, fuck that. And especially after how she laughed when Bayaz was like, and Giselle's a bastard of King Gustav, and then it's just silence, and all you hear is a faint
the first time she laughed in ages.
She was cracking up.
Oh, she definitely kind of reflects all of us in that moment too. We're just like, oh my God.
Really? This pompous asshole too. The whole show he made of it too. He was just like, there was a woman on the side and she had a child. And he's in this room.
That's a show, man.
It's like a reality TV show, isn't it?
Oh my God. MTV's Real World meets fantasy. It's like, whoa, what the fuck?
Oh, could you imagine? We've locked 10 people in a house. Logan, 9 Fingers, Pharaoh, Malgin. This whole cast. I would pay to watch that. I'll definitely.
It would be a very short episode. It'd be 30 minutes later. Everyone's dead except Pharaoh and Logan, and they're having sex on top of their bodies.
Very bad sex, but yeah.
Episode 2. Is Logan gonna keep his milk in the bucket?
Oh! Squelch, squelch, squelch.
Oh shit!
Oh, nasty.
Anyways, Stephanie, to switch gears up a little bit here, Monza kind of gets a lot of hate. It may be just if it's on Reddit.
I don't know
but
why.
She does get a lot of hate, and us 3 fucking love Monza. She's a badass character. Period.
She's a bad bitch for sure.
Do you think she would be as despised if her character was a man instead of a woman?
That is such a tough question because the story like if Mansell were a man, the story wouldn't have been the same. It would have been completely different. And I think for me, because Mansa does have a lot of hate, and that hate is earned. She is a bad person who did a lot of bad things. But the reasons that people hate her, the biggest one seems to be it's the way that she treated Shivers and Casca, right? And just this complete disregard for their health and well-being and all of that. And so if Mansa were a man, that none of that would have happened. Like the crimes that she committed are, in that sense, are about like, it's less about her being a woman and more about how the people around her respond to her as a woman. And so while she did slaughter innocents and she manipulated the people around her, yes, I'm not taking any of that away. The fact that Shivers stayed as long as he did, like he came wanting to be a better man. If she were a man, he would have left after the bank. But instead she slept with him in Westport to keep him right there. Like she knew exactly what she was doing. Casca would never have come back. He might not have shown up at all. He definitely wouldn't have come back after, I think it was Peranti or Viserion. So I don't think she would have been as hated if she were a man, but it's not because, it's not because she's a woman. It's because I think, we look at like a lot of the crimes that men commit in these books are like, it's like murder, rape, and torture. It's the big ones. They're physical. They're also ones that I think most of us don't experience in our day-to-day life. Like how many of us who read fantasy are kind of like, we're kind of numb to death and fantasy, But what she did to Shivers specifically is something that I think probably a lot of people reading these books have been through. I mean, who hasn't been treated badly by someone they have feelings for? Right. And so you have that response and that connection to Shivers in that moment and feeling what he's feeling that I think probably, and maybe I'm projecting here, but I think it probably puts a lot of people really against her, and that's just irredeemable.
Well, Jesus,
I totally get that. But that makes so much sense. But at the same time, when you're reading Best Served Cold, I think it comes across so naturally as well, especially in that scene where after he gets his eye burned out, and she's just there, and it's like, I should feel guilty, and I should feel like I should look after him, but really, I'm just disgusted.
Yeah. She literally was just like, I don't want to deal with this, and then she starts distancing herself and goes and sleeps with someone else. And then when he tries to kill her, she's like, he's trying to kill me. Like, what did you think was going to happen?
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
that's true. I always get annoyed by Shivers' reaction because he's like, she owes me because she slept with me a couple times.
I didn't get that.
But that's real, though. That's real.
But she doesn't actually owe him, though. That's what I always get hung up on.
She doesn't. But think about, like, how many times do you see, like, I mean, when we go on, like, Tinder or Hinge or whatever, and we're talking to a guy, and he says, you want to meet up? And we're like, actually, no, I'm not really feeling it. And they're like, well, you're a bitch anyway. Like,
that's how I felt about it, right? Like, that's wrong.
That happens, yeah. And so, I think he did kind of jump the gun a little bit too quick, but he had her on such a pedestal. Mm-hmm. And then she just completely disregarded him. I mean, it was shitty both ways.
Yeah, it was shitty. I think in the defense of Shivers, I think where he really was like broken was the whole fact that he lost his eye. Like,
yeah, but so he chose to go that path, though, didn't he?
No, that's the thing. And but Stephanie was correct. Is that like at any point Shivers just could have been like, I brought you this guy that you asked for. I'm out. But he stayed. There's always that pull to the darkness, even though he wants to be a better man. Especially after the bank, I feel like anybody would have been like, "Yo, this is wild.
I'm out."
I'm out.
And then he stayed after Cardates too. It happened twice.
Cardates is even crazier. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. But then in Manza's defense, I mean, like, how do I say this nicely? Oh, I might have to edit this out because I might get canceled. But I'm just gonna say, if you witness somebody in the act, his eye getting burned out, and then at some point while you're trying to help him heal, or like you're just trying to be there, he says it should be you. That's such a conflation of guilt and disgust. But like, if you're gonna say like I wouldn't have been disgusted, I would have been there. You're lying to yourself. You absolutely are. I grew up around disabled people my entire life, and sometimes even though they hold a near and dear place in my heart, I'm like, wow, like it's very innate. It's very human to feel that. I guess it's important to recognize that you need to work through that. And I
Yes.
think, and what you also said was, you said like people that read fantasy don't really deal with murder, rape, and torture like on a regular basis, right?
I don't mean like there are people
Well, I
obviously
mean, with
who deal with that stuff.
with sexual assault, yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Speaking,
And that probably, to be fair, is a separate category because that does happen more regularly. But I think, for those of us,
way more confident. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
So we'll
way
take that out. But for those of us, for example, who haven't served in armed combat,
yeah.
war doesn't hit us the same way.
No, all we get is from like media or art,
Right.
in shape or
Right.
form.
Or
Whereas,
yeah, fantasy, right?
Like what? Yeah, and like you said, excuse me. Like how do I explain? It's not emotional abuse. Like maybe emotional manipulation or other tactics that people use. And these don't have to be like malignant people, malignant narcissists or anything like that. This is how some people just get through their lives. But there's always a victim. There's always collateral damage on the other side. We're seeing it from Shiver's point of view, and I think a lot of us, like you said, have actually experienced that in real life. So then all that pent up rage and hate that we never dealt with back then just comes in. We're gonna hate this fictional character.
Yep.
Yeah, that's very true. Monza always has this position too, where I have a certain amount of sympathy for her, in terms of how everyone's like, "Oh, what would I do without you? You're everything I want." Everybody's always wanting her. Everybody wants her to do things, and then everybody expects her to keep that up that bargain, even though they are the ones who put her in that position. Bennett expected her to be a certain way, and she fulfilled that until he was gone. And then Shivers expected her to be a certain way because whatever reason, because he had his expectations set too high, or so her own father, Casca especially, they all had these expectations on who she was supposed to be, and she always just did that for other people because she does care about other people. She just, in this place in the world that she is in, there's no room for that in order for her to survive.
There is, and I agree with that 100%, but I actually want to speak on that for a moment because this was a rabbit hole I told myself I wouldn't go down.
Go down
now
it.
We're here.
Go down it.
Let's go. So Monza, yes, she's had all these expectations and people expecting her to be a certain way. I actually kind of read it as her. She almost needs that now. Like maybe she didn't ask for it at first, but when you look at her relationships with Benna specifically, let's start there. Assuming it did happen, of course, never confirmed, but like, let's be real.
Oh, absolutely it did.
It absolutely
did.
100%.
It did.
Benna, so she kind of goes on this journey of relationships from Benna to Shivers to Rogon to somebody else I'll get to in a second. So Benna, she's been with for however long. The difference between Benna and all these other people is that Benna loved her unconditionally. When Benna was gone, she had to fill that gap. And that's not just the relationship gap. That's the gap of someone needing her. Benna needed her, right? She protected him. Someone needing her, someone adoring her. I mean, you think about the very first chapter of Best Served Cold is Benna telling her how beautiful she is. And she's like, yes, tell me more. I'm so stunning. That's how we get introduced to her. And so once all that is taken away, her beauty, we're not going to say her beauty is taken away because clearly she's still gorgeous, but like in her mind, she's not as beautiful as she was. Her brother's been taken away, someone who loved her unconditionally. And then she gets to Shivers. And Shivers, I think the reason she starts manipulating these guys, and you can trace this back to Casca too, but she manipulates them because she's trying to recreate that unconditional love from Benna. She needs these people to put her on pedestals. She needs them to need her and not want to leave her. And so when everything goes down and Shivers loses his eye and it should have been you and all of that, she realizes she doesn't have that more. And I think that kind of plays into that disgust. She knows that she should push past it, like you were saying, but she knows that she can't get back what she lost, which is that adoration, idolation, or idolization. I don't know my words.
You got it.
Yeah,
Idolization.
and
Yep.
so, and that's why I kind of feel like as we get to the end of the book, she leaves Shiver, she goes to Rogon, and then we find out at the end of the book that she's pregnant. And the first time that I read that, the only time I read it because I'm a first time reader. But when I read it, I was like, really, come on! Like it just seemed so. All right, we have a woman and we're gonna get her pregnant. Like that was annoying to me. But the more I think about it and what Manza's character arc actually is, she's now ended this book with a child who's gonna love her unconditionally, who's gonna idolize her, who's going to adore her, and so in a way. That could be her happy ending.
I would say she has a happier ending than a lot of people.
She does. She does.
But you got to read. Yeah, Stephanie has to read all the books. Oh man, woo!
I hear her son steps into it and like has a bigger role. Does he?
Yeah.
Who wants to break that
not
news?
a huge
I'm kidding.
role.
He has an iconic role.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
I can't wait. Age of Madness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
but
right.
just the fact, like,
Expectations, right?
You said you're reading the heroes right now, correct?
I'm reading the heroes right now. I'm about halfway. So I've read obviously through Best Served Cold about 40% of the heroes, and then I'm reading Sharp Ends in chronological order too. So I have.
Yeah.
I'm about at the halfway mark.
Okay. All right.
Well, that was a really good Monza rabbit hole. That was epic.
Yeah, I was going to say,
that
I've
was
never thought about
fantastic.
it that way. That's
Seriously,
that's
that was-
fantastic.
I told you I love Monza.
To be honest with you, here's what I thought, and I think I might have been projecting too much, according due to my own shit. I thought like Mons was exhibiting like the classic caretaker or hero complex, but what you said about needing that adoration, I think it does make more sense in a way. Like I thought the caretaker model came to play when like she had to take care of Benna, especially after the father died. They lost the farm, et cetera, et cetera. And then Casca comes into play, and Casca, and the Como Casca, he's a certain kind of character.
He's a character, but what's so interesting about him is he knows exactly what she's doing, and he stays anyway.
You're talking about at the time of Best or Cold.
Yeah, at the time of Best Served Cold, Casca knows that she's manipulating him. It doesn't matter. He's in love with her.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
which is super creepy if you think about it, because they were like, she was like 14 or something when they met.
But I don't know if he's in love with her in that kind of sense. I don't know.
And I don't know.
He is
I think it's a little.
You don't if you read Breath of Cold and Monza's recollections, Casca's the one that taught her how to read.
Mm-hmm.
And he took her under her arm and and because of him, and this is before Casca was just only about drinking, and he would reference other generals in that universe, and that's why Monza grew up to be the badass that she is. And then Benna's the fucking cunt. I swear, I feel like they reversed roles with the Lannisters from Game of Thrones. I just these two incestuous assholes.
Casca is definitely a.
But Casca, I feel like he was at the beginning. I feel like he was, not positive, not nurturing, but he's something along the lines of he's not a net negative, but he's maybe a net positive influence on Monza. And then she realized she has to take the reins away from him.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
He also is in terms of their relationship. I mean, let's think about this for a second. He is a mercenary who is he is a fucking scumbag, and he takes a 14-year-old girl in, who at 14 in these times, inside of a series like this, 14 and Monza's very mature for her age at that time as well. Sure. It's not like Monza is like an 8-year-old who doesn't know what the fuck is going on. She is basically a woman. I'm not saying it's okay for Casca. I'm just saying
weird.
Casca is also never does anything about that. He makes mentions to it.
He never moves on it.
Yeah, he never moves on it. He'll talk about it openly, but he won't come here. So
right, but it's sort of it's kind of fucked up. Maybe he started as a father figure, and then as he taught her and trained her and all these things, that twisted in a really gross way.
Yeah, very Casca way, didn't it?
Yeah. So, but that's why I think it's just, there's this kind of almost meta level where Casca knows it's wrong, but he feels it anyway, and she's betrayed him, and he's still coming back to help her, and he's like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm here because I love her, which is disgusting and sweet at the same time.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Their whole relationship, every relationship that Manta has is somehow disgusting and sweet at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Every single one.
More disgusting, though.
Yeah. More disgusting. All right. Well, in keeping with the whole, since we're on best served cold right now, real quick, the question we got for you is, this is a bit of a deviation, but we're still within the same, the structure of best served cold. In what ways do you think that motherhood affects Vitari, or do you think that aspect is used as a crutch for a character? Who wrote this question?
I did, baby.
Okay. Just the phrasing threw me off, but okay, I got you. Okay.
Oh, come on, man.
Sorry. I was just like, oh wait, what?
Well, it's because I feel like I've seen this discussed before.
Okay.
Where I don't, so Vitari never really interested me all that much, to be honest. I wish she did, but kind of like Pharaoh, where I'm like, you just kind of fall flat for me. So the motherhood aspect, when it was introduced, at the time felt like a crutch, but I know it's not. The problem is kind of twofold. I think first, it's that Vitari herself is a little bit one note. We just don't know a whole lot about her. She's more fleshed out than she could be, but that just seemed like, okay, well, we're going to give her a family. So, okay, fine. But the flip side of that, though, is that motherhood always stands in contrast to fatherhood. And I don't it kind of bothers me that not just in this series, but in a lot of fantasy series as a whole, where you have these very patriarchal societies, we don't really see great examples of fatherhood, like a father's loving their children, where where the kids are viewed, the sons are viewed as a legacy and the daughters are just pawns to be married off and forge political alliances. And so the only reason that motherhood feels like a crutch in this sense is because we don't have good examples of fatherhood to contrast that with. And I wish that we did. I wish that we saw fathers mourning their sons, not their legacy, but their sons as people. And I think that if we had more examples of strong fatherhood and loving fathers, then the motherhood aspect being introduced wouldn't feel the way that it does.
That's interesting.
You know what? I honestly, I agree with that. I feel like it's been easy to just relegate fathers as to be what's the word? Absentee fathers, or in a sense. But
not now, boy.
The fuck out of here. Oh, did you
I'm busy.
Did you impregnate your wife to continue our bloodline? I feel like this very cheap
come on,
heat.
Therese, he's a king.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I struggle with that. It's we all know plenty of guys that are terrible fathers. We also know plenty of guys that are
great fathers.
Yeah, great fathers, and there's no need to relegate all of them under one umbrella, I think. But I understand what you're saying. I do.
But it even goes beyond just the legacy aspect. Even I think it was wasn't Crummock. There was somebody.
It could have been Crummock. I don't even know what question you're gonna ask, and I'm like, it could have been that fucking guy.
There was a scene where West was out. This was in Last Argument of Kings, and West was at the battlefield, and there was a woman there that he was just she was, I guess, a Northerner. I can't remember. No, she was the daughter of the prisoner. What was her name?
Cathil.
Cathil.
But she wasn't actually the daughter, though.
It was before they were hanged.
Wait, it wasn't before they're hanged. Okay. And I'm just you see this example of the father and the daughter, and I kind of wanted to see a moment where it showed that he really loved her, where I feel when fathers, when they care about their kids in these series, it kind of just it stops at be the pride in them and what, or she's a fighter, he's a fighter. There's never really just this innate love for their kids, which I think all humans are hardwired to have. And I just wish that we saw more of more fatherhood, so that motherhood didn't feel like a weakness, if that makes sense. Yeah.
I will say this is, there is a couple, you do have a few aspects of that to look forward to. He does better at that part. I'm not going to say where or when, of course, but there are some parts. They're small, but they are significant. Also, remember, Pike wasn't actually her father.
Oh, right. You're right. He kind of
Like
picked
his
her up
Sailor
along the
Moon.
way.
Yeah.
Because
He's taking care of her.
she helped them out.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll take that out.
And then
I
number
didn't really know where I was
3,
going with that anyway.
If you want, I'll edit it. If you want, I'll edit it out. I'll do it.
there is only
Well, now we have
one.
to, right?
Now we have to. Harrison, make this a seamless transition. Go ahead.
Wait, I'm editing this.
No, what?
There's only one other character that I can think of off the top of my head that you know for sure is a we've seen so far seems to be a good father, and that was actually Monza's dad. He seemed to be a pretty good dude.
Yes. But he was, I mean, it's been a while since I've read it.
Was
he sick or?
He got sick.
He got
He
sick
got
and died.
sick. Yeah, but he did seem to genuinely love them.
Yeah.
But yet it's only like it's the father out in the farm, not the father who's actually like involved in politics and involved in the workings and machinations of what's going on here. Why do they have to be so isolated before they care about their kids? But you're right. That's a good example.
Yeah. But you know what I like?
You've just. Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
You sure? No, I can remember what I'm going to ask.
I was going to say, Stephanie, like you've just absolutely blown my mind here. I'm actually thinking back through the whole thing, and I can't think of a single actually good parental relationship here.
Well, I've heard that
Logan's dad.
What are you talking about?
Logan's dad is full of good sayings, at least.
Until he stabbed him.
But he didn't kill him. Logan didn't kill him.
There's a lot of characters in the future part of the series, George.
I've heard that Glockta steps up.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I know he's like a stepdad, but I've heard he kind of steps up, so I'm excited to read about that.
There's that. There's a little.
No, never mind.
Just
get that out of your head.
I feel like there's. I'm just gonna say the name because it's obvious that in the best of cold that this person has children. But Giselle, boys.
Yeah.
I know how you feel about it, George.
Giselle.
But then if we go with one of my theories, which we're not going to get into, then definitely not. Like,
but yeah, even then he doesn't mean he doesn't love him. Come on, son.
George is
Croy.
George is so full of theories. I can't keep up with. Croy's a good dad. She's
Croy's
probably
a good dad.
you're reading.
Croy,
the
I don't know yet.
Yeah, Croy. You'll see. He's a good dad.
So Finri seems like she has a ton of potential. I'm super excited to see that whole dynamic play out.
Yeah, I want to get to that. I just want to say something. What you referred to about Monza's dad, I feel like it's a very refreshing juxtaposition. Isn't the word I want to use, but it's the word I'm going to use. Is that in the sense that like she's like from which you know of the backstory of Monza. She works on a farm. They're out in the middle of nowhere, whatever. Like their closest town, quote unquote, is near Talins, right? That's the closest.
Yep.
Yeah. Right. So you always get the sense in any kind of like literature that you read, and you're working the land, you're tilling the land, you're doing this. It doesn't matter like who's actually the oldest child. It's always the oldest son that is looked to be the next in line in terms of being man of the house. The fact that the dad always looked at Monza to be the next one, like you gotta, like I'm gonna die. You better till this corn. You better do something. You know what I mean? Like,
step up, bitch.
Yeah, step up, bitch. Because I'm about to die, and your brother's a little bitch.
But actually. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. All I'm gonna say is like the fact that he is looking at his daughter. Because like she just has it together. She's older. She obviously, and she's smarter. She has a better grasp of how the world works compared to Benna, who's just. I got feelings about Benna. I got feelings about Benna.
No,
Don't get me started on the fucking guy.
My question: what was wrong with Benna? Because I never really figured this out. They're like, he's sickly, he's frail. Like, what was it?
Oh, I'll tell you right now.
Okay.
Hold on, let me crack some knuckles.
Suffering from being a little bitch.
Yeah, he's a bitch. Monza, let me just hold on to your skirt while you just defend me against everybody. Oh, Monza.
Why?
First of all, everyone needs to recognize, right?
Just getting excited.
Oh no, I'm excited. I'm tight now. Monza killed no innocents. The butcher, Capriel, that's all Benna. That cunt, that motherfucker. I'm sorry. Someone take the reins. Take the reins.
Are you asking like, why do you think Benna was like that?
I'm asking
Like
what was
sickly or
like
what
a
he
lot
was?
of times I think like certain diseases that they don't have a name for in these worlds are described instead of outright stated. And so when they said he's sickly, I'm like, did he have like what was it?
Oh, he's just
It could
weak.
be he
It
had,
could be like a whole range of things. Like it could be like he's
Asthma?
got like an asthma. It could be he's got like a compromised immune system, or it might even be something like anemia, where
Right.
you just feel tired and
Yeah.
dizzy a lot of
he
the
never
time.
bites in the series,
Right.
really. So
No,
that
no,
would
he
explain
doesn't.
that.
And like,
He does kill Solomon Herman, but apart from that,
yeah, but like, I guess what the book is meant to illustrate is that he doesn't have the physical capabilities to be on at least
Yeah.
Monza's
To be a
level.
fighter.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
a fighter, or even a farmer. Really, if you think, remember,
Yeah.
shit,
Right.
It's been a while since I read Breath of Cold, but Bennett can't till the land as well as Monza, which obviously is okay because at that time when they're doing the flashbacks, they're real young, like, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
There
Well,
are, yeah, I
she's-
think she's
she's,
9 when it starts, something like that, or
Something
11.
Right.
Yeah, I believe she's 12 whenever her father dies, and Bennett is in like 7 or 6 or something.
Right, which for the both of them, in fairness, it's a traumatic age to lose basically both, like the last connection of any kind of parental figures you had.
Yeah,
So
that's Batman
considering
level
that
trauma
Monza's
right there.
dad just kind of drops dead as well, like it seems to be some kind of genetic thing.
yeah, it's a bit rough.
Anyways, so to break up the
We went
seriousness of
real
it,
rough down there, right? Holy shit! Hold on.
Stephanie, what kind of diet do you think Day is on?
A bad one? Definitely not one that's gonna work. Yeah, I have no idea. Like, we did talk about this a little bit. I feel like she's the whole thing didn't really like make sense to me. I was like, oh, this is just like her little shtick, I guess. Is she like, is she binging and purging? Is she just, all the walking that they're doing and she's just burning all this off? It just kind of, I don't know, it felt like her thing. What kind of diet do you think she was on?
I don't fucking know.
Apples and cakes.
I just wanted to break up. I knew some of these questions were going to get serious. I thought I'd just throw that one in there.
That was a good one. I mean, I don't know. I feel like she, whatever's in front of her, she will eat with aplomb. That's what I think.
I feel like she's also very just like, she's opportunistic. Clearly. And so if something's in front of her and she wants to eat it, she'll eat it. There is a chance that like maybe she's like trying to secretly just like bulk up a little bit. I don't know. Maybe so in case she had to like fight someone or potentially
She's weightlifting.
Right? Carbo loading. Like, what if she actually did know all along that she was ultimately going to have to kill Morvir and take over, and that was ultimately what she wanted to do? Was she somehow like preparing herself for that? But that feels like a reach. I don't even.
If you
I don't
get
even
really
like
fat,
where I'm
you
going
need
with
twice
it.
as much poison.
What was that, George?
What was that, George?
If you get really fat, you need twice as much poison.
There you go.
Genius.
It's protection.
Yeah, it's big brain time.
It's big brain time. Okay. Well,
Great
Right,
question.
so we should
I
probably
just
move
appreciate-
on from Best Served Cold.
what happened?
Oh,
I said we should probably move on from Best Served Cold.
I'll
now.
twist us back here, I'm sure, because I'll compare everything to Monza.
You might as well.
So,
Nice.
who's your favorite female character so far?
Take a guess.
Monza.
Monza.
You should say that at the
apart
end.
from
You should
Monza.
say that at the end, George. Jesus Christ.
So much for moving off of Best of Cold. No, I think so. Monza, I mean, she's look, like, I know a lot of people hate her. I hate her too. She's evil. She's not evil. I'm going to take that back. She's a bad person. But I get frustrated sometimes when people are like, I hate her, because there's a difference between hating her as a person and hating her as a character. I hate her as a person. I love her as a character. I have never read anyone like her, and I'm the first to admit I have a type. If we were ever to dive into my fantasy reading habits and the types of characters that I'm drawn to, they're all very similar in a lot of ways, and so Monza definitely fits that bill. But I do really feel like, objectively speaking, she is an amazing character who deserves more appreciation alongside the
big three.
I do. She's right up there.
I totally agree, honestly.
Good, I'm glad.
Yeah.
Harrison, you said big three? Did I hear that
Yeah,
correctly?
just
Glocta, Giselle, Logan.
Logan.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
Like she should be up there as a loved character.
Oh no, absolutely, for sure, especially considering the original trilogy characters. Yeah, Monza's got to be up there. I mean,
I always thought she was. I can't like speak to having seen anyone complain about Monza, but I might just be not seeing it. Like, you know what I mean? You just like kind of mentally block it out.
Oh, maybe.
Like, this is
You
too dramatic.
Like, don't talk bad about my favorite character. But
Yeah.
I think a lot of it also. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say people do talk about
They do.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it also has to do with the fact that, like, Glocta, as horrible as he is, I mean, he literally cut a man's fingers off slice by slice. Glocta shows remorse while he's doing it. Logan has the excuse of, well, this is my other personality doing all of these things. And Jezel's just Jezal.
Jezal becomes a better person. He's
He's
spectacular. He's the only person who does it, Stephanie. He's the only person. Everyone else stays a shit person with a little minor change.
Giselle, poor Giselle. God, you could probably do a whole episode on him too. But Monza puts her remorse away, and so I think a lot of people get upset with her for that. If you're going to commit these crimes that I feel in my heart, I wish you would at least know that you were wrong, but she doesn't. So there's never that like sort of comeuppance.
Really, you don't think so? She always admits like that was terrible. I wish that wouldn't have happened, but there's nothing I can do about it. So fuck it. It's gonna make me weak if I think about it.
That's exactly it, though, and that's why I kind of walked away from the word evil before, because she does have these reactions. She's like, I know what I'm doing is wrong, but she doesn't pay attention to that. She's not mature enough. She's stunted in her growth because of what happened to her, and so the moment these real feelings, that maturity pops up, she puts it away. It's just too much to deal with, and she'd rather just go back to her safe space of being adored by whoever's around her and just continuing on her quest and whatever she needs to do.
Yeah, fucking and killing.
Okay.
Fucking and killing, exactly.
No, I have an impromptu question for Stephanie.
Okay.
So what you just said, right? So considering all that, you remember when Foscar came into the picture?
Yep.
And he's like, and left. He came in left. He exited stage right. And the part where he's like begging, he's like, I just want to live. Like, and obviously, Foscar is the youngest out of Orso's kids, Grand Duke Orso's, not age of
former Grand Duke.
Yeah, former Grand Duke. Wink, wink. Anyway, and he had no idea what was going on, obviously, and he pleads with her. With Monza, like, I just want to live.
Yeah.
And then obviously, what's a nice way to say this? Shivers just fucks everything up. That's the nicest way I can say that. So in that sense, Monza freezes, doesn't try to stop him, doesn't really admonish him or anything. What do you think is her mindset in that time frame? Like, we get her perspective, obviously, but it's just. Like, if she really wanted to save him, she would have, or tried to. Do you think, or no? Or no?
I don't think she wanted to save him. I think she didn't want to kill him, and those are kind of flip sides of the same coin.
Sure about that, because with Carpy, right? Not Carpy, sorry. With Faithful.
Carpy.
Yeah,
you're right.
Carpy. Yeah, she did try to save him.
She did. Kind of. He has these moments toward the end of like, maybe there's some growth here. Like, maybe she's actually on the cusp of breaking out of that. But ultimately, her circumstances don't allow that. And she will still, even when she's on that cusp, like, if Shivers hadn't snapped, maybe she would have done something different. After the debacle with Carpy, yes, it's that moment felt like it was leading up to a point where maybe she would spare Foscar. But she didn't have that chance. And so I don't think that what she could have done in that situation was say, that was fucked, Shivers. Why did you do that? Like, she could have really reacted to that and used that moment to be like, all right, you know what? I'm done. This is done. I've killed, there's 6 people dead, and I don't really want to be the Grand Duchess anyway. Like, Orso's got his comeuppance. I've killed his legacy. She could have used that opportunity, but instead she said, you know what? I'm just going to go back to where I was. You know what? It happened. I'm done. Moving on and continuing on. And so it was just kind of business as usual. So while I don't think, that whole situation, no, she didn't kill him, but she didn't end the cycle. She continued on.
Okay.
So Monza is a fantastic, amazing character who is Stephanie's favorite character, and
very much so,
and written brilliantly. Anybody who disagrees is going to hell.
Or they're gonna meet Monza.
Yeah, they're gonna meet Monza, and she's gonna be in her prime.
We're still at a Westport Cardati level of anger for them. Actually, on that note, though, I do want to take a second to mention someone we haven't really discussed, because Artie.
Finally.
Yeah, Artie.
yeah, that's our. Yeah.
Is that where we're going next?
Yes.
I thought we were in Vera.
Artie.
Yeah.
So Artie was my favorite character throughout the first 2 books. She was
straight.
When I say like favorite character, I mean like superstar, golden child, could do no wrong. She was perfect. And then we got to that scene with Last Argument of Kings, which is another rabbit hole I said I wouldn't go down, where she just, real fall from grace, and Monza sort of took over. But when I loved Artie, I loved Artie.
Wait,
so she deserves a mention.
Wait. I don't know if I'm getting the books messed up. Did you say the scene in Last Argument of Kings?
The sex scene with Jezal. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
That's
thought
interesting you say that too. My mom felt the same way. She just finished Last Argument of Kings as well, and she thought that part was like a fall from grace for Artie as well.
It was because like, and now we're gonna end up talking about this, because I think I saw her the same way that Jezal did. I think there was a little bit of just like putting her on a pedestal. She's perfect. She ticks all of my boxes for what I like in a character. And so when that scene happened with Jezal, I felt what Jezal was feeling in real time. It wasn't just reading about Jezal's feelings. It was me feeling it also. The whole time I was just like, Artie, like, no, girl, like, stop. This is bad. So, like, you just want to like reach into the book and like shake her. So that was both hard to read and amazing to read, because I don't think I've ever felt so connected to a scene in the moment as I was in that one as it was happening. But I just, to your point about who's my favorite character, Artie deserves a mention because she was so high on that list. And then really just fell hard and fast right off the pedestal where I placed her.
Okay. So just to continue on that line of thinking, your favorite female character so far, is it Artie or is it Monza?
It's Monza.
It's Monza.
It's
okay.
definitely Monza. She's so much better written than Artie. But Artie had my heart in a way that like she got to me without as much background and information as Monza did. Like Monza was easy for me to just like fall for. She's amazing. Artie, kind of. For me, she was a great character. But I think that Monza's better written, so she takes the crown. And she stayed there.
Wow.
And it'd be interesting to come back to this in when you finish the series
Age of
to
Madness,
see if there are changes.
I'm sure.
Oh my god, I can't do this. George, do you have the next question, or because I got one right here?
Yeah, you go ahead, Jeff.
All right. Well, I guess these two are kind of similar, so I'll just say it. Do you think, Stephanie, that Artie is a tragic character, or is she doing the best of what she has?
Can it be both?
Yes. The answer is yes.
Yeah, yes. The answer is yes.
Yes.
Kind of like circling back to what we were talking about earlier with Pharaoh, there are so many different responses to trauma. And Artie's, I haven't been in that situation. Like, my father is amazing and very loving and caring. And so I don't know what it feels like to have a parent that is like that. So kind of tough for me to speak on. But I think that Artie is doing the best with what she has, but her fatal flaw and what makes her tragic is that she can't quite do it, and that she has all of the tools that she needs. She's smart, she's funny, she's beautiful. She has what it takes, but she can't break out of that mentality. And that's kind of how I read it.
So
I like that because I always thought it was interesting that, you know, RD is in this sort of like very restrictive situation in the kind of society that she's living in. But after Wes goes, she never really kind of makes an attempt to like make something of herself.
Exactly. And
I always thought that was very interesting. So you're right, like that is an interesting way to think that, you know, she's just stuck in the role that she's been given, so to speak.
But you almost like wish she would have, because you look at someone like Carlotte Danider, for example, who I think I told you this, Jeff, when we first spoke. I'm like, I think she's the funniest running joke in the series. I think she's hilarious.
I love her.
Amazing. But you look at her and it's like, this woman keeps getting beat up, robbed, head shaved, thrown into like a dungeon, like whatever it is, she's poisoned, like she keeps getting knocked down, and that woman claws her way back up, whatever it takes. Artie doesn't.
Keep reading.
I can't wait. I know you were telling me like that she comes back in a really iconic scene, and I can't wait for that, because I think
Red Country.
Oh yeah, okay, good. Because I was like, maybe I'll skip Red Country, and then no. Carlotte hasn't done it in Red Country.
No, ma'am, no.
There are many reasons not to skip Red Country.
I love Westerns, and it took me a while, and I was just like, man, Red Country is so good of a fucking. Oh, you know, continue, Stephanie. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No. I like talking about that
next time.
Because I don't like Westerns, so that's part of the reason I was like, maybe I'll skip it. But then I hear, you know, things like this. Carlotte's amazing, and then I hear Shy South is really good too. So I do want to read that. I will get to it. The big thing is getting through the heroes, because I'm not big on war and cold. I'm not interested.
Here's motivation for you there, Stephanie.
Okay.
The heroes. I'm not a huge fan of. I love war books and stuff like that, but the war aspect isn't what makes that book amazing. The literature aspect of that book, I would say, he writes that one in pacing and style better than any of his other books. In my opinion, The Heroes is the best literature-wise compared to all his books. I don't know.
That's what everyone
every
says.
Page that you turn, you're like, I can't stop reading. I don't even care that much about this war, but I fucking love this series.
That's what everyone says. And I will say, I love the characters that I met. I'm really into Wirren. I want to know what the hell that is.
Oh, don't you get me started on fucking Wirren right now.
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil
it for me. I'm just really intrigued by him. Like, what the hell is going on here? So him, Wonderful is interesting. I love Finray already. Gorse, obviously. I've been into Gorse. Yeah, a little Gorse. I feel like I've been into Gorse since. Was that a good voice? I could never really like.
That's the best voice ever, because Pacey doesn't even do a good voice for Gorse. So you just did the Mount Everest.
Like Mouse.
Yeah,
hello, folks, boys and girls.
Kids just hello.
I really like what I've read of him so far, so I am excited for that. So I will keep reading on that. I know that there's a lot, like there's so much love for that book that I know I just need to keep going with it. So I'll get through that. Absolutely. What were we talking about?
I don't remember what, but that's a good sign, right?
Wait, if I could help out with something that we're about the heroes, but what were we talking about? We said, I'm looking at the questions. Who asked what?
So I think we just got off on a tangent, which is fine, but we only have a few more questions, I think.
Like maybe one more, but I just want to say, like, if you had to, like, did you ever read Catch 22? Stephanie?
A long time, like in 7th grade, I'm pretty sure.
All right.
So like, it's been ages.
Especially from Corporal Tunney's point of view, there's a very Catch-22-esque feeling towards it. You know, Tunney's always just trying to get like out of being put in harm's way, etc. Once you read like because I read Catch-22 a couple years ago, then I read the Heroes, I was like, it's oddly very familiar. All right. It's so good. So good. So,
All right, well, looking
Yeah.
forward to it. I'm sure the next time we talk, I'll be like, yeah, this book is amazing, and I'll just want to nonstop talk about it. Because I know there's a lot that's going to happen.
No, there is. Oh, and Harrison, did you ask her like how difficult is it? I'm sorry.
I was about to.
Yeah, there you go. Go for it.
I was going. So we have a few more questions. I think George has got one for you as well. But you personally, with Artie, do you feel like you would do better in her position in life with the things she's gone through, or do you think that you'd be worse?
I mean,
do about the same?
It really depends. Like, are you plopping me into her body with like all my knowledge that I have now?
Yes, also having experienced all the things that she's experienced.
She's experienced.
Yeah, like with her experience, but my current mindset, yes, I would do better. But also, that's completely unfair of me to even say.
Right. No, no, I think Harrison. I think the
point.
question, Harrison. I think the question is like, how difficult was it like to be a woman in Artie's position? I think that's what you were saying.
So that actually honestly brings up a good point, because it's not like I don't even like what I'm going to say here.
Say it.
Do it.
I know. There were 2 kids, you know, both of them went through this situation, and how it was expressed in Artie and Colum is very different. And I think this is kind of where we talk about like, okay, well, how are women really portrayed in the first law? Because Colum is very mature and thoughtful until he's not. His anger and rage comes out in these short bursts. He's like a match that you light. Whereas Artie is kind of like, it's much more, she's either on or she's off. And when she's on, like in the Blade itself, you're like, wow, she's really like bright, confident, beautiful, amazing person. And then when she's kind of put back in a situation that brings back these memories, she collapses completely.
You think she collapses, really?
I think that she allows herself to sort of go back into that mentality of where she is constantly trying to stay out of. Like, the person that she was in the Blade itself and the person that she was in Last Argument of Kings are completely different people. Granted, there's alcohol involved there, but she was drinking in the Blade itself. Like, Jezal even knows, like, she was having a drink at 10 a.m. That's unconventional. Beautiful people are never coarse. They're just unconventional. So there's this, like, we're seeing, and maybe it's because we're seeing her through his eyes and like the rosiest tinted glasses you could ever put on. But I do think that there's just this sort of like, this abuse that was expressed completely differently in the son and the daughter. And so, I think that Artie could have this is like, it's tough. I don't want to say she could have done better. It's not my place to pass judgment on somebody who's been in that situation. I don't know what that feels like, so I don't want to do that. But I do think that it's interesting that Joe made the decision to express this in different ways based on the circumstances that both Colum and Artie have had in life, with Colum having a clear path to a goal that he wants to achieve. He can join the military, rise up the ranks, and do all these things. And Artie, who can get married, and that's it. Right. So it kind of expresses itself in different ways.
Right. And then do you like piggybacking off of that, like there had to have been resentment, right, from like Artie's perspective, like the fact that like just Wes is so neurotic, so wound up over his position in society, right, where he's not paying her any attention, but he's also constantly being very overbearing, which is a very weird dynamic to have, right? It's a juxtaposition of two different outlooks. It's like, I don't give a fuck about you, but I'm also going to make sure you don't do anything wrong.
Totally.
Right. And so for her, it's very conflicting, right? Like, you have to imagine, like, just think about it. You're coming from a different land because across the sea, whatever the fuck. And she's like, I'm going to see my brother that I haven't seen so long. Me and him both suffered the same, similar trauma when we were younger, kids. He's older. He goes out, makes his own way. He's famous. He's the first through the breach at Oriok and all that jazz. And finally, he calls her to move over there in Adjoa when the dad dies. And he just is like, okay, in a weird way.
Here you go, bye.
Yeah, honestly, in a weird way, I read it as like, it was like when I first read the book and, I was like, Wes has a sister here. It wasn't like a momentous thing. It wasn't like an emotionally important thing for Wes. It almost felt like to Wes, from the perspective of Wes, not my perspective, just clarifying so I don't get canceled, that Wes viewed it as almost like, he viewed her almost as a servant. Like, okay, well, you're here now, and you do this, and fuck off, and I gotta handle my business. So, like,
if I have something actually important to say about this, but I have a very strong opinion about the West already.
Right, and we talked about this, Harrison, in previous episodes. And I'm conflicted because, like, I identify with anger issues, but the fact that you out here, I don't know, what's the nice way to say it? Well, there's no nice way to say it. You're just out here beating the shit out of your sister. This is like, what the fuck, man? What the fuck? So, yeah. I feel like Abercrombie did a really good job in writing really, really deep-seated human conflict there. You know what I mean? Like, no one's obviously black and white. So there's shades of gray. And sometimes the shades of gray we think we know until we really explore those shades. And it's a bit tough. It is. I was reading. I was like, ow, wow. You need therapy, Wes.
That's what Joe does so well, though, is he writes those shades of gray.
Mm-hmm.
And it's. I think it's interesting to see it all play out. I wish that Artie had taken this situation a little bit more into her control, but she didn't. And that's kind of where I don't want to, that's kind of where I want to leave it, because I don't want to dive into psychoanalyzing Artie, because I don't know what it's like to be in her position or in Colum's position. She was taken into a situation, like kind of like when you move to a new city and you're like, it's going to be amazing. And then you realize that you don't really like it and you sort of have this slow fall. I feel like that's kind of what she went through. So I want to give her the benefit of the doubt, but I still don't think that there's an excuse for the way that she acted in Last Argument of Kings, in the heavy drinking and just complete disregard for herself. I wish she had the self-awareness to say, I'm not going to do that. But again, that's not my place to judge because I don't know.
I will say this. If you think about at the end of the Last Argument of Kings, as my mother pointed out, Artie is perhaps for the only time in the series, when she comes in there to Glocta, she has not been drinking.
Yes. Well, we know why.
All right. Maybe, but she didn't seem to care that much before.
But that kind of brings up a good point, though, because, when she got pregnant, that was almost like a shock to her system. And I think a lot of times, women in societies like that who get pregnant out of wedlock are punished for that. But that was the moment where she was like, I can use this. And she did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Anyway.
No, that's good. We were just thinking.
We're all just thinking about it, yeah.
Yeah.
Dead silence.
No, please continue.
Yeah.
No, that's it.
I have a tendency to just be like really silent, and I look up at my ceiling. I'm like, wow, what do I think about that? And I scratch my nose like a fucking idiot.
All good.
Well, George, you have any other questions?
No, I think I'm good.
Stephanie, do you have any questions for us about the
Oh
podcast?
yeah. Ooh, Stephanie, throw
our
it up.
podcast.
Throw it up, Steph.
I feel like this is like a job interview where at the end, like, so do you have any questions for me? And if I don't,
Yeah.
it's not going to go well.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly how it's gonna go.
Fired.
You're fired.
You're fired. You're fired from a job you never held.
I mean, how'd I do? It's my first podcast.
Honestly, you did great.
You were awesome.
Good. Yay. I'm so glad. I mean, I had a really good time. I really love like just nerding out on this stuff with people. I mentioned earlier, like same as you, Jeff, I'm kind of like a closet nerd in my life. So it's really nice to be able to have these conversations and just really like dive deeper into these characters that we all love and care about so much. So thank you so much for having me on.
No, of course. No, of
I mean,
course.
that's why we do this podcast, right, boys? Is to bring the community together. Because
That's the
else
only
we're
reason.
gonna
unite.
That's the only reason I started this whole thing, because none of my friends would talk to me about this. They're like, "Book,
Totally.
idiot." And I'm like, "Oh, I guess. Oh, excuse me for reading." Ooh,
and now if I want to have a first law reference, I can just text my boys.
yeah, that's it. That's it. But no, I mean, Stephanie, you did great. I think you're our second guest, and I think she did a great job. Like, there's
You had
no,
some very
Thanks,
thought-provoking
guys.
thoughts.
no, seriously. Like, there's
Thanks. I had fun.
no,
This is a good time. You guys do a good show, and I think you've just wrapped up Late itself, so I'm excited to be a regular listener and hear what you guys have to say about the next few books.
That's a show, everyone. We want to thank you all for listening and supporting this podcast. As you all know, this is a passion project for the three of us, and your support really does mean a lot to us.
Join us next week as we start Before They Are Hanged with The Great Leveler and Best Laid Plans.
And make sure you follow us on all of our social media. We're on Instagram for Jeff's Great Skits, and we've got all our AI art and things like that up on our website, which is circleoftheworld.com.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or just really, honestly, like whatever podcast app that you use to listen to podcasts on. And just really, please, if you would be nice, rate and review our podcast, because it helps. Thank you all again for listening.
Mercy and cowardice are the same.